Good afternoon. You are watching EduSet lecture. Friend, as you know, we have organized a series of lecture on art and architecture in India, and we will start with the tribal and folk art in India, mainly focus on Andaman and Nicobar. And for discussion on this very topic, we have in the studio Dr. A.K. Das. He is presently Director Lal Bahadur Shastri Memorial and Research Center, New Delhi. And before moving to here, he has also chaired Maulana Azad Chair Professor at National Museum Institute, and also former director in Exhibition Division, National Museum, and before that he was curator in Museum and Museum Division, Anthropological Society of India, Kolkata. So I hope his knowledge and experience, long experience, will help us to understand this tribal and folk art in a new perspective, and we will try to know what the major prospect we have in the art and architecture. So on your behalf, I welcome Dr. Das for the EduSet lecture on this very topic. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. The tribal and folk art in India at times creates problem for people to understand. Many people ask, what is tribal art? What is folk art? Is it something different from the modern art or the classical art? Is it something which doesn't have any aesthetic in it? So these questions needs to be answered, not just by telling the various things about it, but it is important that we should go to the area from where these materials comes. Now, if we talk about the folk people, who are the folk people? The folk people, they are the people who live in the villages or the semi-urban areas. And the tribal people, who are the tribal people? The tribal peoples they are also folk people, they also live in villages, but they are signified as tribal because they have a different way of life. They live in a small community, and they believe in a common ancestor, they speak a common language, and they profess the similar traditions, and that's why they are little different from the folk villages, and that's why we term them as tribal people. They are one of the minority community of this country. Now, these tribal people, they are actually the indigenous people. They are the people who lived in this country from time immemorial. And now what we find that these tribal people are concentrated in certain areas, and the major concentration of which we find in central India. Central India is one of the pocket where we have major concentration of tribal people. There are a number of tribes, they live in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh and parts of Bihar and Bengal, parts of Andhra Pradesh, parts of Maharashtra, and parts of Gujarat. In the central India, constituting the central India, we have a large number of tribal. This is the major concentration, the macro concentration of tribal people in India. Then we have another macro concentration which we find in Northeast India. The Northeast India consisting of about 7 or 8 states, Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, Sikkim, like that. There are 8 states in Northeast India, and this is mostly tribal dominated states. Actually, most of the population are tribal people in these areas. As this is a major we get a major concentration of tribal people in Northeast India. Then we have there are places like if we go to the Western India, Rajasthan, and Gujarat, parts of Madhya Pradesh, this here we find the micro concentration of tribal people. Few tribal peoples are located in this area. Like in Rajasthan, we have 2-3 tribal groups, and same as in Gujarat, and a few in the nearby areas of Western India, and that's why. And then there is another micro concentration of tribal people we find in South India, where we have a very few tribal groups. And finally, the micro concentration, the small number of tribal groups we find in Andaman and Nicobar Island. The Andaman and Nicobar Island, which is in the Bay of Bengal, there are two different groups of tribal people who inhabit these islands, some 210 islands. That will come later on. Now, why the micro concentration of or the macro concentration of the tribal people in Indian subcontinent? The reason is that these people were the original inhabitant of this country, and during the Aryan invasion, the Aryan, the migration, the Aryan people who migrated from the Central Asia or the West, they have crossed the northeast frontier, the Karakoram range, and then they have entered the valley of Indus Valley, and then the valley of the Gangetic Valley, this valley, and the Aryan people pushed the local population, the tribals of that time, they pushed them back, and then they have occupied all the fertile land in the Indus Valley area, and then the Gangetic Plains. And these tribal people, they gradually migrated to most inhospitable places in Madhya Pradesh or the central India, and some in the hilly areas of Himalayas, and some migrated towards South India, So because of the push of the Aryan people continued for some time, and the tribal people automatically they had to go to most inhospitable, rugged places where the Aryan people, they didn't have that interest because they wanted the fertile lands, so they occupied fertile land. And then we have find that the majority of the tribal, they were concentrated in the rugged areas of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, parts of Odisha like Dandakaranya and all. Then you have parts of Bihar and Bengal, and so this is the area where these people concentrate, and then further South India. But the Northeast India, of course, we have the people, the tribal people, they have migrated from the Southeast Asia, and they have started inhabiting the Brahmaputra Valley as well as the hilly areas of Northeast, including the eastern Himalayan mountains, where these people migrating from South Asia gradually occupied this place. And some of the tribal groups from the Gangetic Plains also migrated towards northeast, and then some of them started living in the Brahmaputra Valley. So we have a large number of tribal population in the Brahmaputra Valley, such as the Bodos and the Ravhas and then the Rajbangsis, like that. These tribal groups are living with the hill tribes like the Karbis or the Nagas or the Mijos or the eastern Himalayan tribes like Adis and Nisis and Mishmis and then Bori, Bukar, like that. There are many, great many number of tribes in this area who have settled. And then so we have the emerging picture where we have that there are in central India and northeast India where we have the major concentration. Then we have seen there's some smaller tribes living in the western Indian, the desert and arid areas, and then the Deccan Plateau. There's a few tribes in the Deccan Plateau. So this emerging scenario is important for us to understand the tribal people and their isolation, and in their isolated life, they have preserved their culture, art, traditions for for thousands of years. Today, I am going to take you to the Andaman and Nicobar Island, which is situated in Bay of Bengal, and there are some 210 or more islands, and which are scattered north-south direction. From in the north, there is the concentration of the Andaman group of island, and in the south towards Java, it is the Nicobar group of islands. Now, the Andaman group of islands, which is nearer to the Bay of Bengal, or nearer to the coastline of Bengal and Orissa, and the Nicobar group is nearer to the Java, the coastline of Java. And in the Andaman Island, this is a coral island, and we have four group of tribes. There are four groups, and these groups are known as Onge and Andamanis, Jaroas, and Sentinels. These are the four groups, and these groups are Negrito. So this Negrito, they are the oceanic Negroes. That means these people, they have migrated from mainland of Africa in the remote past by sea, and they have populated these islands, these Negrito groups, like this, the picture which I have shown. And these people are the Negrito population which are there in Andaman and Nicobar Island. They are on the verge of extinction, actually. They are like the Onges. Onges now have about 100, near about 100 people, and sometimes it increases to 110 or 12 like that, and then sometimes it goes down to 80, 90 like that. They are struggling hard for their survival in the Andaman Islands. In the same way, the Great Andamanis. The Great Andamanis is almost extinct, actually, and there are some few, about 20, 30 people are still living, but mostly hybrid, and so Great Andamanis can be considered already extinct, actually. Then we have the Sentinels, that is, they have considerable number of population, but because the contact was only made very recently, so we don't have exact figure of the population. And the Jaroas also, like the Onges, is a small population and struggling hard for their survival in Andaman. Now, these tribal groups, the Negrito people, the Onges, Andamanis, Jaroas, and Sentinels. These groups are hunter-gatherer. They are one of the most primitive people on earth, and they still practice hunting and gathering, and their technologies are few and very limited. They only fashion a bow and arrow. Then they have some technology to weave baskets, and they have some technology to make some wooden buckets, like that. These are the very few utensils or useful items which we find among these people. Now, see, the Onges in Andaman and Nicobar Island, you see, they live on hunting. They go on in their hunting territory from place to place in search of games, roots, and tubers. So this is their livelihood. They kill some monitor lizard or a hog or something they will kill, and then they will eat, and then they try to dig out the roots and tubers, and sometimes they collect honey from the trees. So collect the honey from the trees. So this is the pursuit, the economic pursuits. These people, they continue every day, and in pursuit of these, they move from place to place. They are semi-nomadic. For 6 months, they go on from place to place in their hunting territory. Each Onge group, they have their hunting territory. These are called the hunting bands. The hunting bands have their own hunting territory, and within which they go on roaming in search of their food. And there is no infringement between two hunting bands, So a hunting band consists of a group, a number of families coming together. They are not related to each other, but these hunting band, the 4 or 5 families, they come together and they live in a communal hut, which is called Gay Borale. And the Gay Borale can be called as a community center, and so the Gay Borale is is a place where for 6 months these 4 or 5 families, they live together and interact with each other, and all the important ceremonies and functions are done within that particular hut called Gay Borale. And so Gay Borale, for 6 months, it remains as a place for living the hunting bands, and then they go out after the rainy season. They go out in the jungle, and they try to find out monitor lizards, hogs, and deers, and other games, and then they dig on the roots, tubers, yams, etc., and then they collect honey from the jungle. And see, in this primitive stage, it's so simple technology, some simple way of life. Can anyone aspect any art or any aesthetic among these people? Because they are whole day running after their games or try to dig out the roots and tubers. They don't have time for any other aesthetic. But we have some evidence that these people, they also have some kind of aesthetic in them. There is some kind of aesthetic feeling among them. Whatever material they produce, the certain arts and crafts, like a basket or like a waistband, or they have a bucket, wooden bucket for collecting honey. And if we examine these things, then we will find that there are certain attempts to beautify these functional items, like take for example bucket. Now here you will find a very simple bucket which is scooped out of a piece of wood, and then which is lined with cane strips to strengthen it, and then there is no artistic creativity in this bar. But if we see another bucket like this one, and in this bucket you will find that there is an attempt to paint it in red color or pink color, and you will find the rim of this bucket is chipped, very carefully chipped. You can see some kind of geometric design because of careful chipping all around it, and that is where we find that there is an attempt to beautify a functional object like this wooden receptacle, wooden bucket, and here painting is being done and chipping is being done to make it beautiful. So this is a very incipient attempt, beautification, and this is an example of the art, how it grows out of some kind of very simplistic, seminal beautification, attempt for beautification. Then we can go to see some other, like this item. Now you see it's a waistband. It's a waistband. Now this waistband, this is also a functional item, and this waistband you will find there is an attempt for beautification. Now you can see that here the craftsman tried to make a kind of symmetry. While decorating this waist belt, you will find the seashells, bunches of seashells are arranged symmetrically. They are here trying to maintain a symmetry. If 10 bunches of seashells are on one right side, then again 10 bunches of seashell on the left side, like that. So then there are, you can see the teeth. There are small teeth, and you see on the left side there are 3 teeth, and then on the right side 3 teeth. And then you can find down below there are some black colored beads, and these beads again, this is why these beads are there, because functionally these are not required. Why these teeth should be arranged in a symmetrically when these are not required? Why these seashells are to be arranged symmetrically? These are just for beautification. So here we find that this, by trying to maintain symmetry, they have attempted a kind of beautification of this functional object. So here the craft object like a waist belt is there, and you can see there's some other here also, another object here, and this object also you can find those seashells which are carefully arranged, maintaining a symmetry, and this symmetry is for beautification. Its symmetry is the part of the aesthetic feeling of the people here. Another object like this, here you can see that the bunches are very carefully arranged all around the waist belt. Then we go to another area. Now here is a seashell. This seashell you see, and when they collect this seashell from the jungle and then from the sea, they carefully collect those seashells which will be used by them for their household purposes. Like here you can see a seashell with beautiful patterns, you see, and then so when they get this seashell with the beautiful pattern, they collect it for use it. Another seashell at the top you can find the same, a beautiful thing, but here there is an artificial attempt to make it more beautiful. Here the craftsman tried to paint with certain lacquer paint, on the surface of the this mollusk, some kind of geometric design. You can see the angular designs like this, and these angular designs, it is just for beautification of the seashell. This seashell is beautified by using some kind of lacquer and then making some kind of geometric lines so that it looks beautiful. So this here again we find in a very simplistic manner these seashells are being beautified with great care and sensibility. Then we can go to another item which is very important, the baskets. Now you see there is a basket, sorry, now it's a cane basket. Now this is very simple cane basket which is woven of cane strips and in coil technique, and this basket the shape is very straightforward and simple. It's somewhat conical, and there is no sense of beautification in this. But if you see this basket, now see this one, this is more compact, and there is an attempt to beautify it by creating a shape which is pleasing. Now you see this, it has a curve, it's curved, and then it gradually is conical below, and then you have see the rim, and then with some kind of ribs, you know, like that. And so why this techniques? This is because the craftsman wanted to make his basket beautiful by giving it a shape, a pleasing shape. So here we see that because of that attempt we have a very pleasing shape. That this basket is definitely better looking than this basket. Now, so this is about the crafts, and in these crafts what we find that some kind of attempt by the craftsman to beautify these, like we have seen the wooden bucket where the chipping of the rim, and then a kind of paint is used on the surface of the bucket. Then we have the waist belts which are symmetrically arranged, the seashell for decorations are symmetrically arranged. Then we have the basket where we see an attempt to give it a pleasurable shape, you know, by using certain weaving technique, so like that. And finally we can another item which will show that there is real a kind of aesthetic of the people of Andaman and Nicobar, especially the Onges, you know. Now here is a plank, a sleeping plank. This is a sleeping plank. This sleeping plank is used by the Onges in their communal hut, you know, on their sleeping platform, you know, just for sleeping. But this plank is, you know, not a very plain or something like that, but there is an attempt to make it beautiful, and you can see the zigzag lines, the zigzag, and these zigzag lines are arranged, you know, parallel to each other. Now you see, when you see a first one group of zigzag lines, then you will find a plain space left, and then again another group of zigzag line, the plain space left, another group of zigzag line plain. Now why this? That why not the zigzag lines are continuously drawn from top to bottom? The craftsman here or the artist here, he didn't do that. He arranged in groups, first group, then again second group, then third group, like that, leaving plain space in between. So this is a very incipient attempt for composition. We have seen the modern art, the composition is one of the very important element of decoration. Now in the primitive stage, you see the Onges, they are only the sleeping, which is a functional object, the sleeping plank, and this is being decorated by using some kind of engravings, you know, and these engravings are some zigzag lines arranged in parallel and leaving a plain space in between two zigzag lines. So this composition is the kind of aesthetic we find among the primitive people like the Onges, the most primitive people on earth. The Onges are one of the most primitive people on earth, but they also have some kind of aesthetic feeling in them. Then we go to another area which is very interesting. And that is now among these Onges and all the Jarwas and this Sentinellism, they have an art of painting their body and the face. You know, the painting of body and the face is at times functional because sometimes if the Onges they paint their body with white ochre, that means it's done in the happy occasion. If it is painted with red ochre, so it is in a sad occasion. That is one thing. Another thing, this body painting, body and face painting is also a kind of protection against insects. There are certain poisonous insects in Andaman and Nicobar Island, and as a protection they do this body painting. But this painting, they don't leave it as it is. While painting their face or smearing their face and the body with a paste of white ochre or red ochre with pig's fat, they paint their face and body, but they don't leave it as it is. And here again we find another kind of aesthetic expression. Here you will find that there are certain lines, parallel lines, carefully drawn. And here these lines are drawn by using fingers. With the fingers, they make certain lines, and these lines, again you will find that these are not just a scratching. These are carefully drawn lines, and these lines maintain a symmetry. If there are 3 lines from the left, there will be 3 lines from the right, like that. And if there are parallel line on the top, there will be some parallel line on the bottom, like that. They carefully done. But not only that, these lines are tactfully arranged, showing the depth. Here, not only the symmetry, but we find a kind of depth. And this depth is, you see, now the 3 line coming from the right side, and you will find at one place it goes down the parallel lines, from left to right. So it goes down there, and it goes down the parallel lines, 3 parallel lines coming from the left. So this particular line goes down the parallel line as well as the vertical lines coming from the left, and it appears, below those 2 lines on the right hand side of the face. So here you see the people, they are trying to show the depth. That means it is not that the lines are haphazardly done. These are carefully done, and to show not only the symmetry but also the depth. So in these art forms we find that here again another picture, you see the woman, and the face is painted with those parallel lines, how the symmetry is maintained, how the depth is maintained in this. You can clearly, one can see this from this particular painting. Now this another picture is shown that how the painting is being done by a woman, you see, on his on her husband's body. Now here again you can see those lines drawn by using the finger, and then here also she tries to maintain the symmetry and so try to maintain the depth of this. So at the very primitive stage we have seen that the certain idea of composition, certain idea of symmetry, certain idea of depth, etc. are noticed among these people. These are although the same elements you will find in the classical art, in modern art, but it's not that these are creation of the modern art or the classical art, but these are being created at the very primitive stage of human life. So this is about the art of the Negrito people of Andaman Island, where we have seen the crafts products, the functional items, and a touch of beautification on these objects. Now we proceed to Nicobar Island, and in the Nicobar Island, we have two groups in the Nicobar Islands. There are 30-40 islands in the Nicobar group, and one group is known as Chompen, the other group known as the coastal Nicobaris. The Chompens are again hunter-gatherers in most cases, but also do they have some kind of very incipient horticulture. They tend certain fruit-bearing trees like pandanus in the wilderness. But the coastal Nicobaris are quite advanced in comparison with the Onges, the hunter-gatherer tribes of the Andaman, and this Chompen who lives in between these Andamanis and the coastal Nicobaris, the Chompens. The coastal Nicobaris are fully horticulturists, and they have advanced horticultural practices, and that's why they are a settled people. They are not nomadic. They have settled villages. They have adequate food because of their horticulture, and these people are also very good fishermen. They go on fishing in the high seas. They go on fishing in the high seas, and they have their technology. You know, with this technology, they have created a canoe which is called Outrigger Canoe. This Outrigger Canoe, they have arranged an outrigger system. This outrigger system is made out of bamboo and some other thing, which is attached to the canoe, and when it goes to the high seas, it keeps balance in the even there is a high wave. You know, so these people, they can even do the fishing in the high seas. That's why they are economically very settled, and they are very not like the Onges who lives in uncertainty, because whatever in the jungle, whatever food they get, they eat. If they don't get it, they go on hunger, without taking any food. But these Nicobaris, because of their agriculture, because horticulture, and because of their fishing, they have enough food, and then they know also how to preserve food. So they have how the foods are being preserved by these Nicobaris. It's very interesting. You can see a kind of structure which is being erected in front of their village, and then now see, this particular structure is very important, because this structure shows the method of preservation of food items. So here they are preserving the food items like pandanus and other vegetables which can be preserved. They are drying in the sun, and they keep it inside the house. And these people, you can see from this picture, they are the conical houses raised on raised platform, and then they inside the dryness is there. Whatever food material they keep, because of the dryness, it preserves. Like that. They do this drying of the food material in the sun for some time, and then they take it inside and keep it in their raised platform. So they can use that for 1 month or so. That's why they are self-sufficient. Now these people are very artistic, and even their crafts things are also If you see their crafts, some of their crafts which are it's very difficult. Now some of their craft objects. Now this is made of coconut shell. Now see, they have selected 2 coconut shell of same shape and size. This is cut properly and polished, Then they have made hole at the top, and then by using a cane they have a kind of grip which is being fitted into this. This is for carrying water or drinks, from one place to another, and this has a beauty on its own. Although it's simple crafts put out of the natural material like coconut shell, but it looks beautiful when one looks into it. Then you can see another item. This is a kind of implement, household implement for cleaning their premises. And see, this is made of bamboo, and here also you can see that how carefully it has been done by the people with the bamboo strips which are carefully cut, and then with size, and according to size it is arranged very carefully, and there is a beauty in this craft object. Now this is again a basket, a kind of receptacle made out of erica spate. The erica spate is cut and then it is arranged in such a manner that it gives the shape of a receptacle for keeping things. Now baskets. So you see the shape of the basket and the structure of the basket. It has open hexagonal technique, very carefully done, and it's very difficult also because you are making a funnel shaped basket and using the same number of strips. Yet you are giving it a shape, a funnel shape, and a structure which is like a net, So here again you will find the skill of the craftsman and how they are trying to make their things beautiful. This is another basket. Then you see a wooden tray. It's a wooden tray. See the shape of the wooden tray and the spoon on it. This looks like just a modern thing, specially designed by some designer. It looks like a designer's item, but this is done by the simple Nicobarese craftsmen, like that. So this is the art which we find among these Nicobarese. Now, among the Nicobarese, they have primitive. They follow a primitive religion in which the ancestor worship on one hand and belief in evil spirits on the other hand. They believe in ancestors because they are the protective deities, and they worship them. Their ancestor, some elderly people dies, and then he's being worshipped, and they erect a wooden image of his ancestor, like this one. And here you can see the wooden image of the ancestor, and his which is painted in red. The face you can see painted in red, and head is decorated with some kind of headgear. Then you can see on the neck and the body some kind of apparels put on, and then this is a completely a realistic figure. You can see just as if this ancestor is sitting on the platform, and as if he is going to eat something, and these ancestor figures are being offered, foods and drinks and smokes, in all the fairs and festivals, as if they are the living thing inside the house, and these are erected inside the house. There are some other different type of Now this is, you see, the actual skull of the ancestor is being used. You see, which is being arranged in such a manner, with a hat on the top, on the head, and the body is covered with some kind of, the creepers and other things, like that, and then it's being worshipped in their house. Another ancestor figure, she's sitting on a chair, cane chair. It's a cane chair. On it you see that the ancestor is sitting, and again it's a realistic with full decorations, like that. These are the realistic item, realistic human figures we find among the Naga Bodies. Then if we there are certain other items which, as I told you, that these are used for scaring away evil spirit from the house and village. Like one of the item is this one, so which is an abstract item, which you see small human figures are there in this abstract geometrical kind of figure, which is hanged in front of the house to drive away evil spirit from individual houses. Then we have then there are certain animal figures like a tortoise or like a dog or like a bird, like that. These are also being used in the household by the Naga Bodies, and they specially fashion them. And these are again these scare devils. These are to divert the attention of the evil spirit. While evil is coming to trouble the people in some houses and all, to divert their attention, they make this type of figures, wooden figure. This is a tortoise. You see how realistically made this tortoise figure. So and then you can see this figure, bird, a bird in flight. You can see this realistic. This type of bird is put at the top of the houses, and from a distance, when this evil spirit they see this bird, their attention is diverted towards the bird. So they forgot the people in the house, then they go after the bird, like that. Then you see the anthropomorphic. There are figures like anthropomorphic figure, where half the human head and body of an insect. You see the human head painted with red, in the face, and body you see with the insect body complete. So this is anthropomorphic. This is again a scare devil. This is kept inside the house or in front of the house to scare away evil spirit, while coming to harm the people inside. Then you have exaggeration, the anatomical exaggeration. This is another form of images we find among these. This is again an image for a kind of scarecrow, for driving away evil spirit. Here you see how exaggeration is made, but in this exaggeration also there is anatomical proportion. Now here you see the breasts are quite big, abnormally big breasts. Yet in this the figure, so which the exaggeration, see the ears, it's a long ears are made. The teeth, it's a huge teeth are made. So the exaggeration, the style of exaggeration, which is very important when we examine the Naga Bodies wood carving. Then you see another. These are the two figures. These are interesting. These two figures is representation of European. Here you see two Europeans with hats. Body is painted in red and white, and how the Naga Bodies people have imitated these European figures. This is very interesting. Historically, we know that the Danish people, they were while during colonial period they are trying to find out new lands and all. So these Danish people, they came and they are in these Nicobar Islands for some time. When the Nicobarese people came in contact with these people, the Danish people, European people, and they have seen them coming in the Viking ships and all the big ships, and these people can easily, they kill anybody by using gun from a distance, So the Nicobarese thought that these are the supernatural beings. These are not human, they are supernatural. So that image continued in India's psyche. So here, as a safeguard against evil spirits, so they have fashioned these Europeans, and then keep in front of their house or in front of the village to scare away the evil. Because when the evil spirits come and they see the supernatural beings in front of the village or in front of the house, so that will that scares them away. So they run away from there like this. Then last one, this painting is called Runi. This is called Runi. This is a painting, come engraving, both, because it's a unique piece. This is a masterpiece. This object is not with us nowadays in India. It has gone to Germany. This painting is in Dresden Museum in Germany. This is called Runi, and this Runi is hanged, in front of the house where the women folk, some of the women folks, during their period time, they faces lots of problem, and the people think that the problem is due to a particular evil spirit, and so they have specially fashioned this fetish object, specially designed. But in this, what we find the entire cosmos of the Nicobarese. Here you see in this the lower part shows the underworld, where you can see fish and animals and many things. Then the middle part shows the present day world, where you can see on the surface of the sea the Viking ships of the Danish people, and there are domestic animals like pigs and buffaloes and all these things on the where, and then people working also in the field and all. Then the upper part shows the outer world, the world of the supernatural. And here again you find that the representation of an European. And here a European man is sitting on a chair, and his servant is offering him some drinks and all. And within that you can see a cloak, you can see some other Western items, on the table, foods and kettle and jug and so many different things. So this is the world of the supernatural. This is the outer world. So this entire picture shows the cosmos of the Nicobarese, the underworld, the present day world, the outer world. And this is being done very carefully with engraving and painting. This is unique actually in such a stage of technological advancement among these people, that they could conceive an art object like this. This is something interesting actually, how it's not only the technique of presentation, but the theme, the concept and technique both together make it an unique piece. This is a masterpiece of the Nicobarese art. And with this, I would like to conclude, and just to tell you that in the primitive stage, it is not that they don't have any aesthetic feeling, they don't have any aesthetic sense, or they don't have the idea to produce something beautiful. It is our wrong notion. In the primitive stage, also they have all the whatever technology they have, whatever idea they have, they try to express it by their own way. And to understand that, we have to understand them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's true. As you explained through the examples and the photos and others. Then was it due to the, we can say, the difference in outlook? We find that yeah, is the development modern versus traditional. The only change is due to outlook. Otherwise, the other thing, aesthetics and the proper use of technology was the same, and they used it fullest. So, keeping this in view, is it proper to now tell them a primitive?
I quite agree with you because these people they live in nature, they live in an ecology, and ecological influence is very important for them because whatever they see or whatever they understand on their own way within their ecology, they try to express it. Whatever technology they have,
Right.
that's why it looks very simple. It's very simplistic, but uh,
Like given the period of time, they
Ah.
use it up to the fullest.
yes. Now we have seen that when they have just come in contact with the Western world, so they have taken the themes and ideas and they try to express it through their art. So that is very important. That diffusion of ideas. It's not that the primitive people they don't accept this. They also accept this the ideas from outside, which they use it, and then we have seen the examples here from the Nicobars.
Yes. So, well, friends, as you saw in the lecture, and also as Dr. Das explained that they were also the primitive people not only producing quality products and use the technology, but also they were open to the ideas and they were ready to diffuse for the diffusion and what was the waste they gather, and accordingly they also improved. So this is the great and we should learn from them. And as you know, we have organized a number of lecture on this art and architecture. So today we discussed on the tribal and folk art in particularly Andaman and Nicobar. Tomorrow we'll see another aspects. So with this word, we'd like to conclude the lecture. And I thank all of you for watching the lecture. And on your behalf, I thank Dr. A.K. Das for giving such a wonderful lecture. Thank you very much.